So, something really strange is happening with an entire generation of young men. It's this kind of silent crisis. It's not playing out in the streets, but in childhood bedrooms. And today we're going to dig into a fascinating and, frankly, pretty troubling research report that tries to piece this whole puzzle together. All right, let's just jump right in. The big question is, why are millions of young men just opting out? And look, this isn't some simple story about laziness, not at all. As we're about to see, the data paints a picture where opting out might actually be a rational, though pretty grim, response to a world that's just completely changed the rules on them. Okay, so the first piece of the puzzle is a real historical curveball. Right now, a full 20% of young men are living at home. That's a solid 5 points higher than young women. And you might think, oh, they're just saving money. But it goes way deeper than that. This is a symptom of a much bigger retreat from all those traditional steps into adulthood. Yeah, this all feeds into what the report calls the great opt-out. So let's break this down, kind of like an anatomy lesson of this stagnation, looking at three big areas: work, leisure, and relationships. So it's not just about where they're living. There's this parallel retreat happening from the workforce itself. There's a term for it, NEET. It stands for not in education, employment, or training. And this isn't just about being unemployed, between jobs. This is a total disengagement from the very systems that are supposed to build careers and future. But check this out, because this is where the trend gets genuinely alarming. Over the last 30 years, the NEET rate for young women has actually gone down. But for young men, it's been steadily climbing. They are literally on two different tracks, heading in completely opposite directions. So the obvious question is, if they're not working and they're not in school, where is all that time going? Well, the data is pretty clear. It's pointing to a massive shift of time into digital leisure. We're talking a lot more time spent gaming compared to anyone else, while things like reading have just fallen off a cliff. And this withdrawal from work and society, it's mirrored almost perfectly by a total collapse in dating. The report actually calls it a dating recession. Get this. A staggering 63% of men under 30 are single. But what's even crazier is that the number of guys even looking for a relationship is just evaporating. And then you threw in this widening political gap between young men and women, and it just makes everything that much harder. Okay, but why is all this happening? To really get to the bottom of it, we have to talk about the economics. And the report makes a really bold move here. It compares today's economic reality to, of all things, the Great Depression. And this slide right here, this really gets to the heart of the problem. It's this catastrophic collapse in the buying power of your paycheck. I mean, just think about this for a second. Even during the absolute worst of the Great Depression, if you were lucky enough to have a job, buying a home was still a realistic goal. Today, that same goal takes more than double the work proportionally. I mean, the numbers don't lie. The ratio of what a house costs versus what you earn has more than doubled. So it's really not that young people have stopped wanting to buy homes. It's that the basic math, the fundamental equation, has made that cornerstone of the American dream, well, pretty much impossible for a huge chunk of them. And this leads to a really powerful idea the report calls a silent depression. It's captured perfectly here. A young guy today can afford a way better TV than a tycoon from the 1930s, but he can't afford the room to put it in. See, distractions are cheap. They're everywhere. But the stuff that actually builds wealth, a house, stability, that's out of reach. So from a certain point of view, it's a totally rational choice to just stop playing a game you know is rigged against you. Okay, now let's throw a massive new variable into the mix, one that's basically pouring gasoline on this entire fire: artificial intelligence. The research suggests that AI isn't just another piece of tech. Nope, it's a hyper-accelerant for this whole crisis, and it's coming at it from two different angles. First up, you've got AI as what you could call an economic guillotine. It is systematically chopping away at the entry-level, white-collar jobs that used to be the main on-ramp to a career in independence for graduates. And this isn't science fiction, you guys. This isn't a prediction for 10 years from now. This is happening as we speak. So think about that 1-2 punch. On the one hand, AI is taking away a sense of economic purpose. But at the exact same time, it's offering this incredibly powerful and potentially really dangerous psychological escape. It takes away the job, and then it hands you a perfect synthetic world to disappear into. And here's how that trap works on a brain chemistry level. You've got AI companions, you've got these incredibly immersive video games. They create this vicious cycle. They flood your brain with cheap dopamine, that feel-good chemical.
And after that easy rush, the real world, with all its challenges, its messiness, the risk of getting rejected, it just feels dull and boring by comparison. So what do? You retreat deeper into the digital world. It makes opting out feel like the only sane, comfortable choice.
Now, this kind of quiet, individual retreat into a screen, it couldn't be more different from the unrest of the 1930s, right? The whole idea of what social chaos even looks like has fundamentally shifted. It's moved from the streets into the servers. Back then, you had physical, kinetic action. People were protesting, marching, going on strike. They were targeting real, tangible institutions. But today, that unrest is digital. It's atomized. It's millions of individuals, alone, channeling their rage into comment sections and on private servers. The anger is just as real, but the way it's expressed is worlds apart. You know, there's a term for this. Military strategists call it cognitive warfare. The battlefield isn't land, it's your mind. The goal isn't to conquer a city. It's to destabilize society by manipulating what we pay attention to. And the number one weapon in this new kind of conflict? The algorithm. It is brutally effective at getting us to stop looking at the big structural problems and instead focus all our anger on polarizing, distracting culture wars. All right, so after all that, I know it's a pretty bleak diagnosis. Where's the hope? What's the path forward? Well, the report argues that these moments of massive disruption are also moments of incredible opportunity. It's all about making a really crucial pivot. Which leads us to the key question, right? If AI is the thing eliminating all the old jobs, how can we possibly use it to create new kinds of wealth? The answer, according to this, is all about a huge mindset shift. You have to go from being a passive AI consumer to an active AI operator. I mean, just look at this new toolkit that's available to literally everyone. The cost of starting a business has just collapsed. The tools we're seeing here, they let one person, a single individual, do the work that used to take an entire agency full of people. And this isn't just a theory, it's already happening. We're seeing young people build these super profitable one-person businesses. They're not getting replaced by AI. They're the ones building agencies to sell AI automation to other businesses. They've completely flipped the script and turned the biggest threat into their number one asset. But ultimately, the report says that while this generation needs to pivot to becoming creators, the real long-term solution is about how we raise the next generation. It's about future-proofing our kids. And the key isn't teaching them to compete with a machine on logic. That's a losing battle. The key is to double down on the things that make us human. And that leaves us with one last really big question to think about. In a world where AI can give you all the answers, what's the new value of being human? As that line between us and the machines gets blurrier and blurrier, what do we decide is truly important? What skills are we going to need, not just to make a living, but to live a meaningful life? That right there is the challenge for all of us.